Right, thank you for joining us on this on ShrimpNet, the podcast of the Shrimps Trust. This is episode 13, and joining Joel from the Trust and myself today, I'm very happy to report we have a fully healthy boardroom guru in Charlie Appleyard. Hello, Charles.
Good evening, Freez. Evening, Joel.
And I'm sorry, there's no we're having the BBC would call it technical difficulties. Charlie isn't appearing on YouTube today. He's decided to go incognito. And for the second time, we have the top man himself, the supremo of the Mazuma, the architect of promotion. It's a warm welcome and a big thank you to Derek Adams. Derek, welcome along.
Thank you. I thought that you were talking about the chairman there, but maybe not. Maybe not.
So, start as we mean to go on. We didn't do a podcast last week because of illness to a couple of members of the team, which was unfortunate. So we'll start where we left off. We previewed the Barnsley game and got our first home win this season, Joel, and very welcome it was.
Yeah, very welcome, and I think very well deserved. I thought it was a really good performance, kind of throughout the entire game. I thought the way we set up and the way we pressed Barnsley, it was really good. You could see what we were trying to do. I think we had Stockton and Phillips kind of dragging their back line around a bit, and then we're making lots of runs in behind. We were hitting some big switches out to Cooney. There were lots of really good stuff, and I think we really did well in limiting Barnsley and how much they could get into our final third. So obviously Ripley's had a couple of saves to make, and we have had a bit of defending to do because they're a good side, Barnsley, but ultimately we've kept them at arm's length for good parts of the game, which I thought was a really important part of that win. And I think what was testament to that is watching Michael Duff, the Barnsley manager, on the touchline. He was getting quite annoyed at how often they were hitting the ball long and knocking passes out of play. And I think that's kind of testament to how we forced them to do that. A lot of the reason they were hitting it like that is because the way we pressed them, we made them hit it long, and they didn't want to, and that was what was winding Michael Duff up. So really pleasing performance, and then to see the game out in the way we did, I thought the subs were really, all had a really good impact. Dylan Connolly coming on and just giving us that little bit of extra energy and kind of legs just to keep Barnsley at a good distance, so they couldn't just kind of waltz past the halfway line. And of course that kind of crazy minute when he just basically chased the ball across their whole back line. That was really quite something. But yeah, overall, really, really good performance and a thoroughly deserved win, I thought.
And it was a long time coming, Derek, the home win, but fully deserved. And it's always nice to get the monkey off your back, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've had, a decent start to the season. The league is actually starting to obviously even itself out at this moment in time. It looks like the teams that are going to be at the top are the ones that are pulling away at this moment in time. We've got a group of teams at the bottom of the table that look like are going to be there come the end of the season. And it was just nice for us to beat a team that at the start of the day were in sixth position. And, it was a fabulous win for us. It was at home, and it was a really good showing from us.
And another good crowd, Charlie. Another good away following from Barnsley. We've had some cracking crowds, some great atmospheres, but it was fantastic to get 3 points.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a great 2-3 days up in Lancashire for me, really. It really made me realise even more what a great club we've got. We had a really, really... Derek Rod and I attended the local business networking Chamber of Commerce thing on the Friday. Met some wonderful people who hopefully be future supporters of the club. Then we had a board meeting, and Derek and the board we actually went out for a drink as a food together on Friday night for the first time in 3.5 years, and spent some actual quality time together instead of on Zoom calls all the time. Then we had the match. Then I raced Derek down the Bay Gateway and beat him by about 2 minutes. He told me I've been driving too fast. But then we had the match, and it was just an amazing atmosphere. And we fully deserved it. And see Dylan Connolly come on, chased around like a madman was really, really something to behold, I thought. Especially with Farnay failing trying to beat the offside trap. That was really, I'm an amateur footballer, I was like, Dylan, just stay outside, stay behind the defenders, and then pass the ball and run through. He gets really ahead of the line all the time. Derek must be spitting feathers.
I think that happened a couple of times where Fane just delayed, looked up, saw Dylan. Dylan set off, and it was like, if you'd kicked it straight away, you'd have been okay. But
the Barnsley guy just stood there, not doing anything. Just say, go on.
Yeah, you're right. Well, yeah, it was a cracky. It was nice to say goodbye to Farney as well, because obviously,
yeah, of course.
that was quite a momentous occasion. It was a really good turnout for Farney. Joel was obviously there, and there was quite a few fans and few people from the media and what have you there to pay tribute to Farney. And I think that's worth mentioning because there were quite a few people there who were Farney's friends and family who actually admitted they quite like the podcast. So I thought we'd better give them a mention as soon as they're listening. So there you go. Interesting that everybody's picked up on the Dylan Connolly thing. He showed fantastic energy when he came on as sub, Derek. And I know Joel's already mentioned it, but he had a period where he started off on the left wing and then chased their centre back and then chased the other centre back and then chased back to sort of right back and won the ball back. And he must have been blowing a bit after that, but that was fantastic energy, just closing down and making sure Barnsley, with like 10 minutes left, couldn't get ahead of steam.
Well, I think that any supporter would say that's what they want from their players. I think that the way that he presses defences, the way that he pushes forward is fantastic. And, what we need from Dylan at times is, the added composure, and he hasn't got that just yet at times, but his work rate is fantastic, and he helped us in the Forest Green game as well away from home, and he'll continue to do that.
Yeah, I hope he does, because it lifts the crowd, doesn't it? And when it lifts the crowd, that in turn lifts the players. So it's sort of like self-perpetuating in the fact that the crowd the other night against, which I'll come to later on, but the crowd against, when people were getting stuck in against Derby, it was the same. Everybody was, it was almost like the Mazuma was one. And that's what you need in your home games to get the points, isn't it?
Well, you need players that want to run, they want to harry. And as a manager, it makes your life a lot easier, because if you've got players that are athletically, are very good, they can then put the opposition under pressure, which gives the ball away, and we regain, possession from that. We're not going to have a lot of possession in this league. We understand that because of the quality of League One. But, when we do regain possession, then it's up to us to, get into that final third and create the chances. And we're not going to get many chances this year, just by the way that the other teams, are very good. But when we do, then we've got the players that are capable of scoring.
So moving on from the Barnsley game, which was, again, a fantastic first home win of the season in the league, fantastic performance. Went to Cheltenham with a lot of hope. And did we drag them down to our level, or did they drag us down to their level, or what happened, Joel? There was a lot of errors in the game. Well, obviously Ryan Delaney will be disappointed. I'm not pointing fingers. Everybody makes mistakes. He gave the ball away cheaply, and they scored from just inside the box. And we found it incredibly difficult until the final minutes to get back into it. And obviously Kieran Phillips did well, wriggled free in the box, slammed it against the bar. On another day, could have got a point there. But it was one of them where it was a disappointing evening as a spectacle.
Yeah, I think it shows. I think that group that in with the Burton game as well. I think it shows that, it's while your Cheltenhams and your Burtons have playing squads that aren't just on the same level quality wise as your Ipswiches and your Derbys, they do still pose a challenge in quite a different way. Because I thought, especially in that first half, I thought we probably had more of the play and more of the territory. We were moving the ball fairly nicely around the pitch at certain points, but we were kind of struggling to break them down, I thought. And then from that, they actually end up having the two best chances of that first half, obviously with the goal, and was it Munduli's that 1-1 chance he had as well. So I think it kind of shows, it was almost like they were kind of doing to us what we would we have been what we've been doing to Ipswich and what we did to Barnsley at the weekend. So I think what it showed is, you know, the different challenges that different teams in the league pose, you know, with Cheltenham, and they weren't pushing forwards in the same way that Barnsley had on Saturday, leaving room for us to break into. They were kind of more men back behind the ball, and that was, you know, proving difficult to break down. So yeah, and obviously just coming out of the Barnsley game as well, from that kind of big high of the first home win of the season, it's kind of what happened. It's football, isn't it? You know, you go from a big high one day, and then you go to being incredibly really disappointed the next, and that's how it goes sometimes, isn't it? Really.
And I think many ways that sums it up, Derek, doesn't it? In the fact that we were so pleased to get the home win on the Saturday, that we were on a bit of a high, and particularly the first half an hour at Cheltenham, we did look like a side that was full of confidence. But then we sort of got suckered, gave a goal away, and it took us quite a while to regain some composure. And you had to make some changes second half, and really went for it, and it very nearly paid off. But you've got to, in that situation, it must be frustrating for you as a boss for the consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you're playing teams around about you, the important thing is not to lose the game, first of all, but also, can you get the 3 points? Unfortunately for us on the night, we didn't, and that was deeply frustrating. I thought for the first 35 minutes, we were in control of the game. We had a number of good opportunities. We didn't find that final pass, or we didn't get the shot off that we could have in that first period. And maybe there was, a couple of issues where we could have done, better on the night. It was a 3-5-2 for them against a 3-4-1-2 for us, and it did nullify itself out to a certain extent. We made changes in the second half. We went 4-2-3-1. We tried to get our wingers on to create the width of the pitch to try and get the better of them. I thought that Cheltenham coped very well with that, and we didn't really get that opportunity till late on in the game with Kieran Phillips hitting the crossbar.
And when we look at the league table, Charlie, it was an important, well, they're all important fixtures, but that would have lifted us sort of like back into the pack. But looking at the results that we've had since then, it's been a pretty mixed bag for all the teams around us, hasn't it?
Strange game, have you seen the thing used on Netflix, All Quiet on the Western Front? If you haven't seen it, you must watch it. That reminded me of Cheltenham versus Morecambe last week. No one budging an inch, chucking stuff at each other, not really getting anywhere. And it's a very strange game to watch, where they just had this massive guy. He's from West Brom, the Derek Callum guy. He's really strong centre back, and we just couldn't really get past him, and we couldn't really get him behind. And it was a very strange game where I didn't think we actually played that badly. I just thought we just couldn't get a way through, and unfortunately we lost the game. But I don't think it was that bad a performance. I knew it was going to be a bad night when they served hollandaise sauce instead of gravy with the food in the director's box. That's always going to be a disaster. So
what did you have?
Chicken with hollandaise sauce instead of gravy. So that's not good news.
Oh, you're down south if you're getting hollandaise sauces for the gravy there.
Exactly. Yeah. So I knew it was going to be a bad night. So I knew it was a bad night from them.
Oh, no. Well, actually, if you could text me what the food is in the boardroom before a game, and I'll decide whether I'm coming or not based on that.
Exactly. No, but the one thing I will say is, though, on the pitches, how much better the pitches compared to what they used to be like. The pitch at Cheltenham was really nice. The pitch at Wickham was really nice. Our pitch was really good. I mean, it really impressive how much it's improved over the last 10 years, I think.
Yeah, you're right. Cheltenham used to be a ploughed field, and ours from about February onwards was always pretty rutted and terrible. But it's never looked as good. You're absolutely right, and that's Rob Davison's doing a fantastic job. I know, with the help of some decent investment, which is good. So we'll swiftly move on from the Cheltenham, and I think to close that one, I think we all said we in many ways, I think Joel's probably hit the nail on the head there, in the fact that we had more of the ball than we probably expected. and they played the sort of the sit back role at home, particularly when they were a goal up, and they did it quite successfully. So,
well, another night, Kieran Phillips hits it in the goal instead of on the crossbar. We come away with a 1-1 draw. We're happy with it.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. And as we move on, we go to Adams Park and Wickham last Saturday, and thankfully some baffling decisions going our way, Joel.
Yeah, I think the second one, in fairness, the second disallowed goal, it was a pretty obvious pull on Jacob's arm. So definitely, but yeah, that first disallowed goal, I think we might have gotten away with that one a little bit.
I watched it. I've no idea.
Delaney did. I mean, you can maybe say he was possibly. I think the logic is probably he's climbed on his shoulders, but Delaney wasn't complaining. So, yeah, we've maybe gotten away with that one a little bit there. But overall, I don't think Wickham deserved to win the game necessarily. I thought it was overall relatively even. You could argue either team might have smidged it, but you wouldn't say a point was totally unfair. And yeah, it was definitely a big improvement from the Cheltenham game. I thought Wickham did probably start a bit stronger, and then we kind of started to grow into the game a bit more, kind of keep them out a bit more, get a bit more play in their half. I thought there were some good performances from some of our attacking players. I thought Caleb Watts did well in the first half. It was interesting to see Don Love in a different role. I thought when he received the ball and the way he kind of shifted his body weight and feinting to get out of tight positions, I thought that was quite impressive. It was a decent performance, I thought, and it was really good for Adam Mair to come off the bench. And again, I'm sure we'll talk about him more in a minute about when we speak about Derby, but he did make a really big positive impact off the bench, and for him to get the goal in that way, I mean, it's a slightly wacky way of doing it, but you'll take him. And it was I think Derek's mentioned how good his left foot is, and we saw how good it was, and it was appropriate that his first league goal was a left-footed in-swinging corner at Adams Park, directly in from that, because obviously we know how much. I think Wickham scored 2 goals like that last season, direct from Joe J. I think probably Joe Jacobson corners, which they're nice for Wickham and Joe Jacobson to get a bit of a taste of their own medicine there, courtesy of a 19-year-old youth product.
Well, I'm right in thinking the corner that he took came from his own shot that was deflected that hit the post. Is that right?
It was, and it was I think we actually have to give credit to Derek here, because Jensen Weir was just about walking over to take the corner, then promptly walked away because he got subbed off for Shane McLaughlin as he was going to take the corner, which then led to Adam Mair taking the corner and promptly scoring from it. So I'm sure that was all planned. That was
Derek knew that was going to happen, didn't you, Derek?
Well, we didn't know the ball was going to go in the back of the net, but we were hoping that he put a decent ball into the box for the corner. But to score his first league goal the way he did was fantastic for Adam. He's still a development player. He's not a first-team player at this moment in time, which is even better for him. What we've done is we've watched his progress. He was out on loan to Colne during the start of the season. We were short on players. He came in to train with us. He did really well, and he's then, been able to force his way into starting against Derby for his first game of the season. And his work rate, the same as Dylan Connolly, is fantastic. His left foot is very good. I thought his composure on the ball, the way he received it, the way he found space, and he was able to, find a pass on the night was very impressive as well. And, to make your debut, he knew the day before as well, was great for him and his family as well.
And that's, how do I put this? It's a tribute to yourself, Derek, in the fact that you've seen something in him, and in the same way that you saw something in Carlos Mendes Gomez, because Carlos had been with us for a couple of seasons and never really had a chance. And you chucked Carlos in as if like, yeah, you're good enough, crack on. And is it the same sort of thing with Adam, that you think, well, I think he's got something and he's proved it, and like I say, coming on, Harrogate he scored, albeit it's in the Papa John's Trophy, but then scores straight from a corner and was very influential, as you say, the other night. If he carries on like this at his age, he's surely got a big future.
Yeah, I mean, it's about understanding what you want from a player in your team, and that's what I'm all about. And when I was at Plymouth Argyle, I was able to give Michael Cooper his first league start. Now he's the goalkeeper there permanently. Ryan Law, Luke Jeffcott, Adam Randall. It's about seeing these players and thinking that can they play in the first team. Carlos was playing in the reserve game, and I was only just joined the club, and I couldn't believe that he was playing in the reserves. And I've told this story before. I said to John McMahon, "Why is he playing in the reserves? He's playing on Saturday. Are you sure? Are you sure?" I said, "I'm sure he's playing." And sometimes you have to throw these players into a situation, and that's what I did with Adam on Tuesday night, because I believed that he could make an impact in the game. He had come off a high on Saturday against Wickham. He doesn't care less, and that's in a good way, not in a bad way. He just wants to play football and wants to do well. He takes on information quite well. That will become better as we go on, but he just wants to be a football player, and that at a young age is vital. And we've got a very, very young squad this year. If you look at Saturday, the likes of Kieran Phillips, Caleb Watts, Jensen Weir, and Liam Shaw as well.
Sure.
They're extremely young players, and they're all competing at League One level, playing against your Wickham Wanderers and your Derby Counties and your Barnsleys who have come down from the Championship. It's not easy, and I just think that these players can help us, in the long run.
And looking back at the Wigan game, it was nice for a change to be talking about decisions that went our way, wasn't it?
Well, I've got to disagree. I think the first one was a foul. He had votes of two hands on top of Ryan Delaney's shoulders, and it was impacting him to jump for the ball. And I thought the referee had a very good afternoon, because it can be quite easy for an official at a home venue not to give these decisions. We've seen it a number of times this season, i.e. against Ipswich Town and the other night against Derby, that it can be easy for officials just to give the decision. And one of the reasons I believe that happens is that I do believe that the social media content causes a problem. If you give a bad decision against a team of Derby County, Ipswich Town, Portsmouth, whoever you want to, Plymouth Argyle, Sheffield Wednesday, then Twitter followers can go on Twitter and speak about the referee had a shocking night. If you do that when you're a Morecambe supporter, how many Twitter followers do we have, or social media content? And you see it when there's goal of the day. It's usually not the best goal of the day. It's how big your support is on the Twitter that wins the awards. And I do think that goes into referees' minds at times, that they might be thinking, well, if I give this decision, am I going to get battered on social media for the whole night, for the whole weekend, for the whole week? Is it going to affect where I am next week? And I do think it is something that does play on the minds.
Well, I suppose it's human nature, isn't it? That you're going to, your performance, if it's, even if you're in an everyday job, if your workmates and your colleagues tell you that you got something wrong, you're going to get grief for it. You're going to be thinking, do I blow the whistle or not? It's a fact.
Yeah, I mean, but this is where it's all wrong. Referees should be, they're part of the game. They want to be the part of they've got to come out and explain their decisions at some point. We have moved on so much over the years. We've taken in VAR to help them. It's not to help football, it's to help referees as well as get the right decision. I just think that, sometimes that they can come out and speak to the public who are paying their wages, and as we are as managers have to contractually have to come out and speak before and after games. I just think it would help, and we would have a lot more love for them if they did that.
I agree with you completely, and it's something that I think is a fantastic idea. for the simple fact that it would be great to hear a referee come out and say, well, yeah, I gave that because I've seen it since and I got it wrong, but I gave it in all, you know, and you probably would have a little bit more respect for him, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to come out and say, yeah, I got it wrong, or they can come out and say, this is the reason I gave this decision, and this is the laws of the game, and this is why this decision was given. And a lot of supporters, a lot of players would appreciate that. But are we going to see it anytime soon? Probably not.
No,
it's like anything. It's like anything in business, right? You've got to be accountable for your actions. Even if you make the wrong decision, you explain and hold accountability for yourself. People will let you off a lot of the time, you know. As long as you've tried your best and you've got your own interpretation of it. I think with the young players, it reminds me a little bit of Rooney in Euro 2004, is it?
Yeah.
When Rooney came into the England team and he was just like an absolute bull in a china shop, you know, not caring who he was playing against. He was playing with Zidane and all those players. And it's not just Adam Mayer, it's Liam Shaw and Jensen Weir and all of them. They're playing with such confidence, Derek. And I think they're really making the older players. I think it's like a wave of positivity and lots and lots of effort that they're all pulling in the same direction. I think it's been great to see Adam coming to the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we have to obviously do more of. It is get young players through our system, and you know, it is important that, you know, Adam, you know, kicks on now. He can't play tomorrow night in the FA Cup because he played for Cologne in the first rounds of the FA Cup. So that's unfortunate for him, but you know, he has got a bright future.
And you were at Wickham, Charlie. You were happy with the point?
You can tell we're going to score. I don't know what Derek thinks, but the momentum was, you can feel momentum there. We're 1-0 down. You could tell we were going to score. I don't know how we're going to score. When we scored, it was almost like we were unlucky to not, you know, win 2-1. Adam maybe slotted that one away, and I felt like we could have won it really, but we're obviously happy with the point. After what happened last year when we were drawing and let goal in the last kick of the game,
yeah,
it was a clear foul. I mean, I heard another podcast today where they said that Conor Ripley was feigning an injury when it went down. And I was like, what are you talking about? Not sure at all. But I felt that 1-1 was a good result, but I think we could have nicked it, Derek, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, Wickham is a very, very difficult place to go to at the best of times, and you know, our one problem this season so far is we haven't been able to get the wins because there's a number of teams that, if you look at it from a win-drop percentage, and points are important, but wins are more important, that there is a number of teams that have lost more games than us, and there is a number of teams that their win and draw of games is a lot less than us as well. You only have to look at, you know, the likes of Burton, Forest Green, Milton Keynes Dons, Cheltenham, Cambridge. They've all lost, or they haven't won or drawn more games than this season. We just haven't won enough games at this moment in time. And you can all the way look up to Barnsley. If you look at, you know, from our point of view, we've got 9 winning drawn of games already this season. Barnsley have got 10, Wickham have got 10, Exeter have got 10, and Bristol Rovers at 10. That's how tight it is in the league. It's the wins that are vital, and it's how difficult it is to get that wins, and that's why we're probably disappointed that, you know, the Cheltenham game, the Cambridge games, teams that are round about us, we haven't been able to win. The same with Accrington, you know, due to the sending off of Arthur, set us back. So these are the games that we really need to be winning. You know, we've lost 14 points from winning positions this season, and that's more than any club in League One. And you know, I always read or hear supporters saying that we don't go for the teams and we don't you know, get about them. Well, that stat will tell you that we've lost 14 points from winning positions this season, the highest in the league. That means we've been ahead in these games of football. So that means we have tried to win, you know, football matches, and probably that's some of the Derek Adams haters out there that wouldn't like to say that.
It's a fair point that people make, that I knew about the dropping the points from winning positions. I think, you know, our issue has been we've been on top in many games, and it was pretty much we come to Derby County on Tuesday night in front of over 5,000 people, and a great turnout and a great atmosphere and a great performance. We had just as many chances as them in the first half, didn't we? And in the end, Joel, we were hanging on at the end, but I don't think we were. I think we'd reduced them to sort of like lobbing free kicks in and just long ball, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't. I think similarly to the Barnsley game, I don't think we really let up at any point for any particular extended period in that Derby game. I think at the end, the quality that Derby have got. There are going to be periods in the game where they're really going to start getting on top of you. I think the period leading up to the goal was probably one of those periods, because they were really fired up looking for an equaliser after missing 2 penalties. So, you know, you could. But at the end of the day, I don't think it, especially against Derby, I think we really kept. I think we did a good job of keeping the intensity up for, you know, pretty much the whole game. I don't think we really let it slip. I think you could kind of see that as well by, like you say, the Derby didn't really have many good chances from open play. I think Paul Wharton, actually, I heard him complain about the fact that they didn't make enough from open play, and a lot of that's testament to how well we kept them out. And I think similar to Barnsley as well, like we just didn't let them into our final third as much, and it meant that we were able to defend the situations a bit better. But I thought, yeah, really good performance, and even like late on, you know, Dylan Connolly's almost gone through. I think we've had a couple of chances. I think the introduction of Dylan again was really positive. I think there's one when he's dribbled down the wing, he's cut it back. Liam Shaw, it's a fabulous turn, the way he's kind of taken it on his right foot and spun.
It just fell over, didn't it?
Yeah, just the Derby players' match just about to get in the way. We've had a penalty turned down that, you know, I thought looked pretty stonewall with the handball. So, you know, it's a funny one to come out of a game against Derby County where we've conceded 2 penalties and to think, you know what, we could have really won that. You know, we weren't far off, and we definitely were more than were worthy of a point. So yeah, really happy with the performance. But it's funny to come away from that game thinking, you know what, we could have won that. But just finally, quick shout out to Conor Ripley for those penalty saves, because they were brilliant, especially the first one, I thought, with that left hand getting down. Fantastic, and playing a little psychological games with David McGoldrick as well. Really good. And Jensen Way's goal, by the way. Oh, what a bit of skill. Taking on his left foot, knocking over the first touch and then volleying it. Brilliant. I'm
Derek Adams, fifth in the league of Derek supporters behind his mum, dad, James Wentz and Rod Taylor. And I'm Adams in. You know, I think I made the point that last year we conceded 4 against Wickham, 3 against Cheltenham. We probably conceded about 5 against Derby if we played with them in the Championship. And we shorted the defence. We're getting so many chances. Compared to the games at the beginning of the season, I feel like every game we're playing now, our defence is better. Connor's on absolute fire. And we're creating loads of chances. With 16 chances with Derek on this Wickham, how many against Derby?
Yeah, I mean, the problem we've got is that we're in League One, and it's a fantastic league to be in. You know, do we have the squad numbers? Do we have the quality of a Derby County, a Wickham Wanderers, a Barnsley? We don't, but we have to find a way, tactically or physically, to get the better of the opposition. And that's what we have to do better at with the teams that are around about us at this moment in time. And if we continue in the manner that we're going, then, you know, we'll have a successful season.
It's almost as like you've got Adam and Caleb, like 2 new signings, because they haven't been playing. And then you've got Liam Shaw and Jensen Weir seem to be so much more, I don't think they're fitter or more used to playing with the team, or more used to your system or whatever. But and in defence will play well. Jacob sweeps it behind everyone. Vance O'Connor's done pretty well since he came in. And you know, every match you watch, you just feel a lot more positive. And I know I'm over positive sometimes, but I really do believe that we'll start to string a few results along the way as we go along.
I think you'll find most people were positive the other night, Charlie, because the performance. I mean, yes, we didn't get the win, but every single person that I spoke to said that was a fantastic game of football. It was really, really entertaining. Derby came to have a go. We had a right good go. Could have been a goal up after 2 minutes, Derek. With I think Kieran Phillips surprised them with his pace and did absolutely brilliantly to create that chance himself. But keeper made a good save. Adam Mayer's had another chance. You must have been pretty proud of the lads because it was a pretty, as you've said, it was a pretty young side, but that young side had loads of energy, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have got, you know, a really young side this season. On Tuesday night, we had Connor Ripley and Anthony O'Connor, who were the older players in the team that to give that experience. Ryan Cooney, still a very young player. Liam Gibson is getting more experience, but you know, in that middle of the park going forward, we're still young. Delaney and Badu are not the oldest from a league point of view, but over the night, I was really proud of the players, the way that they stuck to this task, and you know, gave Derby County a real run for it. I
mean, Derby, obviously, as you said, assembled a very useful squad, and as we saw with Mendes Lang and Dobbin, they had absolute pace to burn, and yet Gibbo did really well to keep Mendes Lang in check. Mendes Lang got a yard on him every time, but Gibbo somehow managed to get in there every single time, and the same with Cooney with Dobbin. It was one of those games where they were very, very sharp and very, very quick. But because of, I looked at it and thought, because of the youth and because of our enthusiasm, everybody saw everybody else, right, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. And it rubbed off, didn't it? Adam Mayer had the most fantastic 80 minutes, as we've spoken about, because just his chasing, his energy. But then when he was in possession, he had such maturity and picked the right pass.
But that's the thing, when you play younger players, they don't have baggage, they don't know anybody, they don't know the opposition. And I think Adam Mayer probably didn't even know any of their players. He wouldn't even know who they were. And that's sometimes, you know, a positive because you have no respect for the opposition. Go and play against them, see what they've got. And that's what he did on the night. And should we be on the same playing field as Derby County? No, we shouldn't from a financial point of view. The last chairman spent 250 million on the football club. The new owners came in and spent 55 million already. We would like probably a little fraction of that money for our football club.
I'd take 1% of that.
Well, 1% a lot, yes.
So yeah, it was a great performance, a great atmosphere. Again, another point picked up, and every single point at this stage of the season, Joel, is gold, isn't it?
Yeah, you just at the end of the day, you don't want to think too hard about that. We've got X amount of points to get to get out of the relegation zone, or whatever. You just got to keep thinking, you know, get as many points on the board as possible. I think I think over the last few weeks we have started to put a few more points on the board. I think. Particularly our performances against the better sides like your Derbys and your Barsleys and your Ipswiches. I think I don't want to say we've cracked it because you've never cracked it. Each game's a new challenge and each team brings something different. But we've definitely found a good way and a kind of good formula for putting up a really good fight against these teams at the top of the table, and that's been really pleasing to see because we'll keep picking up. I think I am pretty confident that we will keep up picking up points throughout against these teams. We're going to lose some of the games against them, and that'll happen. But I do feel confident now that against these top teams, definitely we can pick up points and the odd win here and there against them, which is a really big positive.
And hopefully, as a couple of fans have already said, Derek, nobody gets relegated in November. If we can get some momentum, we can actually hopefully start surprising a few teams.
I mean, I think that's what we want to do. I think that we have had players coming back from injury now, and Charlie rightly said, Adam Mayer and Caleb Watts coming back in. I think Caleb's only started 3 games this season. Adam Mayer started 1. Kieran Phillips hasn't started a lot of games, but he's always in a position that he can score a goal. He's done that ever since he came into the club. Yes, he fatigues at times because of his age and the intensity of the games that we've had, but I think that for Jensen Weir to score 5 goals already this season is a huge positive, and I just think that as a group, they're a very good group. Yes, we've got 1 or 2 that we had hoped that would help us more than they have done at the start of this season. And, we need to, get them back to form to help us going forward.
Yeah, I was going to say that's we all know that the Cole conundrum here. Obviously, he's made it fairly obvious that he would have liked to have left. And then obviously we've had a situation where he's come back in and there's been flashes of the old Cole, but he just looks like he needs an arm around his shoulder and a goal, doesn't he?
Well, he's certainly, needing that. I think that, the football club put a valuation on him over the summer, and unfortunately for him, that it didn't come to fruition, that the move came about. The club didn't get the money that they required for his services, and I think that's been very difficult for him. Now it's up to him to work hard and get himself back in the team. He's out of the team at this moment in time because other players have taken over from him and done well, and as a manager, that's what you want. Do I want my second highest goal scorer from last season on the bench? No, I don't, but the other ones are ahead of them.
And it's something that I picked up on, correct me if I'm wrong, but you come across as somebody who, if a player comes in and does well, you stick by that player. And even if the player who's gone out has been injury or suspension, they've got to earn their place back. And I'm thinking, Donald Love, Ryan Cooney. Ryan's come in and taken his chance and not let anybody down. And the last 3 games, Anthony O'Connor has come back in because Big Faz has been suspended, but Big Faz was available against Derby, and you stuck with Anthony because of his, he did well on Saturday. And they've got this mentality where when I'm back in, I'm going to stay in, and that's going to help the team long term, isn't it?
Well, as an employee, that's all you want from your manager is respect. And if the manager, sees that you've come in and you've done well, and you believe that you stay there, then I think that goes a long way. Tomorrow night is my 650th match as a manager, and with that comes experience and understanding individuals and team spirit, harmony. And yes, at times I've probably sometimes played players when maybe I've showed maybe too much loyalty to them, but you soon get that knocked out of you again, and that's what I've done. With Anthony O'Connor, Ryan Cooney coming in, they've done well. They deserve to stay in the team, and it's up for the other players, Donald Love, Rawson, to get back in the side. I wasn't the one on the pitch picking up the bookings. They've picked up the bookings because they've either been in a bad position, they've either shown dissent, and it's up to them to get back in the team. But it just takes, time, as a player to do that.
But it must be pleasing for you, even as a manager. And I know, obviously, there was a situation at the start of the season where there was quite a few placed on the transfer list, and those players have reacted pretty well to actually, not being in the team, but then taken the chance. And you, from your point of view, thinking, well, actually, I'd maybe prefer at the start of the season other players, but I'm stuck with these. But now these guys are actually proving that they're worth something, which is good for you as a manager, but good for them as a professional footballer.
Yeah, I mean, there was a big problem at the end of last season is that the majority of the budget was taken up by the players that were already in contract. And I had to find some way of moving on players to try and get players into the football club. A number of these players had contract extensions where the money went up over the year. So that cost the club an extra £100,000 close to. So that comes off of the budget. The ones that had been in the promotion winning season who weren't on as big money as the players that had come in had left us. And all in all, then you've got to spend more money. It becomes an extremely difficult transfer window when you have to do that. And that's the reason that I had to do what I had to do. I knew that all the players wouldn't leave because financially they might not get the money that they were on elsewhere, or they might not felt that the club that they wanted to go to was right for them. The option was always for them to stay at the football club, and that's what has happened. Some of them have played a number of games. Delaney's played a number of games. Cooney's played. O'Connor's come down and played now. So they're the ones that, you know, have come back into the side. We've got a number that are still on the transfer list that haven't. And we need to reduce the wage bill to take players in January, because if we don't do that, then there'll be no transfer market in January unless we get a cup run or the football club is sold.
And that's where we move on to Charlie, then, isn't it? How's things going, Charlie? Are you fully aware of what's going on behind the scenes? I know that I read Ben's little statement out today, and he said there's been, as with any football club, it's been going on behind the scenes, and they've been negotiating with the Bond Group. Can you tell us anything?
When I write my memoirs, chapter 7, the Derek Adams years, Morecambe FC, in the future, I'll be able to tell you. There has been interest in the club. There's 2 or 3 people who have been considering opportunities. There's one part that's a bit further down the track than the others. But again, that's up to Jason, the owner. The board of directors are well informed with what's going on. We don't have decision-making capabilities of actually choosing the actual buyer. We obviously have to meet them and vet them and give our approval. When it gets to that stage, it hasn't got to that stage yet. But at the moment, we're just ploughing on and just managing the club on a day-to-day basis as prudently as possible. But like Derek says, we need to try and get some football fortune, try and get some transfer money, try and create some revenue from somewhere, because Greg goes to watch a lot of matches. I'm sure Greg and Derek and John have got some ideas for transfers in January, which we're desperate to try and help with. But there's no concrete news at the moment, David.
Well, thanks for being honest. I'll go back to Derek. I'll go back to Derek now. Presumably, you have to plan for the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. You and Greg, with looking at people saying, "Well, we'd like him, but if we can't get him, we can have him instead." Or, you've got to carry on doing that, haven't you, just in case something happens.
Yeah, I mean, what I do is, sit down with the staff, and we do it on a weekly basis. And we had a meeting last week over Zoom just to go through the type of player that we're looking for. And we have 5 players for every position that we have identified. They've got to be possibilities. Yes, another club might get them, but we just feel that these ones might help us come the transfer window. How many players we're going to get in, how many players we're going to get out, are we going to get any transfer funds? We do have no idea, but we have to be ready for any possibility, and we are ready for that, and working hard in the football department, to do that. We are 2 bodies less football-wise, staff-wise than last year, so it is time-consuming, and we're doing well at it.
And just a final one from me before I let Joel torture you with these questions. The injury scenario, obviously, we're in November now. Jake Taylor and Ashley Hunter, are we going to see them hopefully before the new year?
Ash Hunter, no. He'll be the longest except for Courtney Doofus. Max Melbourne will hopefully start training next week, and Jake Taylor close to the end of next week, the beginning of the following week. So they two are the closest of the four that can, come back into it. And, that will help us. Liam Gibson has been fantastic this season, as always. And he's had to play, 21 matches already this season. Ryan Cooney is now back in. He can play at left back, and Donald Love can swap over. But we'd like Max to get back in. We need competition for places in midfield. We're a bit short on numbers. We understand that. We knew that at the start of the season, but there's nothing we could do. We've got a long-term injury in Courtney, who's going to be out for the majority of the season.
Yeah, it's sad for any professional, and particularly sad for everyone had high hopes of Ash Hunter, because obviously he was such an influence in pre-season that we thought we'd got a little diamond there. So it's pretty bad for the player, but looking at the team overall, I think we've coped pretty well, don't you?
Yeah, we're in some games where we need someone to do something different, and the two players that can do that are probably Caleb Watts and Ash Hunter, and they've been out injured for a period of time. Either starting or come off the bench, they can do something that someone else can't. Jake Taylor is slightly different. He can play in a number of different positions in midfield, but he can still open up a defence. Yeah. We've got Kieran Phillips, who can run behind and score goals as well. We missed Arthur Gonoa as well, who was out for 3.5 matches through suspension. So we've got through that period well. We do feel that we obviously need more wins on the table, but out of our 17 games, 9 of them, we've taken something from them, and there's a number of teams that haven't done that.
Joel, what have you got for Derek?
Yeah, to us actually, you've just made me think about players like Ash Hunter and Caleb Watts. I think it's interesting to hear you make that kind of distinction. I think I've heard you use the phrase before, I think when talking about Carlos, the ability to turn a game. So players like Jake Taylor and Jensen Weir, they're very good quality. They can do some really high quality things. But then I guess you've got people like Hunter and Watts. Is it maybe that they do something that's almost a little bit more unpredictable?
Yeah, I always like that, in my team, because, I had a Carey and a Ramirez when I was at Plymouth Argyle, and they could do something out of nothing. And that's something that we haven't got in the team at this moment in time. Jensen Weir has, picked a goal out of nothing for us, but you can't be just a team that plays the same way all the time. You need somebody to do something different, and that's where a Hunter and a Watts, come into it. The other players do the dirty work, so to speak, and they're the ones that find a pass or find a goal for us.
To go back to some of the other players we've just mentioned now, I want to ask about Liam Gibson, because obviously Max Melbourne being out has meant that he's been left wing back or left back for a very long period of time now. But obviously he's been given the number 4, and at the start of the season he was quite often playing in defensive midfield, which I think has been interesting to see. I personally think he's got some skills that can definitely work out there. So when you kind of identify a player who can work in a different position, like you have done with Gibson, is it kind of a case of saying, right, they're playing left back, but he's got these certain skills that I think can work in defensive midfield?
Yeah, I had Jan Songo when I was at Ross County, took him from Blackburn Rovers on loan, and then took him to Plymouth Argyle, then to Morecambe, and he's one that started off as a centre half, but then became a defensive midfield player. And what I liked about Liam Gibson playing in that defensive midfield role was that he's left-sided. He could defend in a 1v1 situation. He could help the fullback, but he could also find a pass as well. And in this league, his height, his physical presence, his willingness to win were things that I liked about him, and in that area. And I thought that he could have done well for us in that area this season. He's gone back to left wing back, stroke left back, and to his more natural position, and performed very well. I give Liam a hard time because I think he's got ability. I still think he can push himself even more to become, a better all-round player.
I think it's interesting you pick on his ability as well, because he does seem to be quite good at handling the ball in tight spaces as well, which I guess is another thing that make him kind of adept at being in defensive midfield.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about him playing in there is that if you had to play a Watts, a Hunter, a Gano, a Connolly in front, then you're not asking them to do as much of the defensive work. It's left to the others at the back to do that, and that's where you're able to get the best of the creative players in front of you, because you're not asking them to do as much defensive work as they will do without these players behind them.
Actually, that's quite a nice little kind of segue into kind of what another thing I kind of wanted to ask about, because looking back to last season now, the kind of changes we made leading up into the change that you made, leading up into that Burton game and then that run of games that had a few wins, it felt like quite with Fane sitting behind Wilding and Phillips, it felt quite similar, almost a bit of a throwback to what we had around Christmas time 2020, when it was Jan Songo sitting behind Phillips and Wilding. So was that? I think you've just reminded me of that there, just saying it's like having somebody saying, right, you're doing the dirty work, and then it gives that freedom to Wilding and Phillips.
Yeah, my preferred formation would be to play 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, and I've always, tried to play that way. There is a number of times I've gone to 3 at the back, played with 5 across the middle, 2 up front. Not something that we like to do all the time. We've gone to 3, played a box in midfield and played with 2 wing backs as well, and 1 up front. And we have to be adaptable. We're in a league where there's teams that we're coming up against that are playing against, have got individually very good players. So we have to look at their strengths first. How do we deal with their strengths, and then look at their weaknesses as well? How can we get at them? And that's what we look on a weekly basis. And you'll probably see that, I have changed the team a number of times. We'll change the team for the cup game tomorrow night, because I see what the strengths are at Sheffield Wednesday, but they've also got weaknesses as well, and we have to try and exploit that. There is a bit of fatigue in some of the players because they've had to play Saturday, Tuesday for a bit, and all I'm trying to do is to try and get the best we can for this game. It's a big pitch. We're going to have to run hard, and we've got another game, on Tuesday, but the most important game's tomorrow night. But changing formation is something that, we have to be adaptable in this league, because no disrespect to our squad, myself, but players, we're not as good as, some of the top teams in this division.
And I guess your hands kind of been forced at certain times of the season with the injuries. I think there was quite a long period where our only 2 wingers were Nahua and Connolly, and obviously it's not ideal starting both of them, because then you've got nothing off the bench. You need to change it if somebody gets injured, and then obviously Nahua's been injured was out for a period, so it was literally only Connolly was the only person who can play on the wing. So that must have been frustrating at that period when you had those limited options.
Yeah, it was, but I will say that we went to Rotherham and played with Gano and Connolly up front, and I thought they were fantastic on that night. That their work rate, they were able to run down the sides of the Rotherham defenders. Arthur got his goal. I thought that and you're right, we didn't have the options. Last week was probably the best bench we've had this season because of the competition for places. Unfortunately, due to tomorrow night, we're going to be down to 6 on the bench tomorrow night, because we've got a couple of injuries. We've got one of the players has got a family funeral that he can't get back from because of where it is. So we've got, just back to having these issues that you have to deal with.
Yeah, and I think it's just great that we're not going to have that available tomorrow night. But like you said, I think we've seen the contributions that having a slightly stronger bench over the last few weeks has made, because obviously late on against Barnsley we've been able to bring Dylan and Adam Mayer on quite late, and then it's Wickham we were able to change things up a bit, bringing Stockton on, and again against Derby we're able to change it around. But I think you mentioned with also like having those subtle formation changes, like because I think Barnsley, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, it looked kind of like more of a 3-4-1-2 with we're in that kind of hole, making those runs in behind from the field. And then last night, I think it was that more kind of not last night, sorry,
Yeah.
it was that more box kind of
Yes.
field, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we have to, and that's what I'm saying. Look at the strengths and then look at where we can cause them trouble. And that's what, why did I take Adam Mayer in? I thought that he could, cause Derby trouble. They wouldn't know who Adam Mayer is. Caleb obviously gets into pockets, but it's on a game-by-game basis. We really have to look tactically how we can get the better of the opposition, but also how can we stay in the game long enough as well. And by staying in the game, can we go ahead in the game, which we have done so many times this season, to give us that advantage.
And I guess as well, also having those extra options on the bench. Obviously, the attacking options coming back, it gives you different things you can do attacking wise if you need to change things up. But also, it's just that little bit of extra energy and legs to keep up the intensity, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's been the big thing for me, to take on a Dylan Connolly with 10, 15 minutes to go certainly, helps you. To have Stockton coming on as a sub, having, likes of Caleb Watts who can start the game, come off the bench. If it's a Phillips to come off the bench, we've got starting to get options now with Arthur coming back, and defensively, Ross and Love on your bench as well. They've already, started games, played games, and that's the competition for the places that you're going to require.
Oh, very interesting. Thanks, Derek. Yeah, back to you, Freeze.
So moving on, I don't think I've got anything else for Derek. I think I've just about covered everything that I could think of there. Just to have a quick look. I have to put my glasses on at this point, which always makes good listening on a podcast, doesn't it? No, that's it. I've done that. So we've done everything there. Charlie, have you got anything to add?
I think what Derek talking about tactics and analysis, Harry did a big round of applause from everyone. He works way in the background, and Derek, people don't see much of him, but Harry the analyst is very, 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 very good addition. And he's a great guy to have in the squad.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a very good backroom staff. We haven't got a big backroom staff, but every morning at 9:15 we have a meeting, and we've got John McMahon, Barry Roach, we've got Ollie, who does a fantastic job. Harry, who is we took him in a number of seasons ago now, and he analyses things and helps me greatly. And Les, the kit man, who I love to bits because he is Morecambe through and through. He works ever so hard on his own, for many long hours. And the football staff, some of them you don't see. John Schofield, Mick Horton, really help. And as Charlie said, we had a night out, the board and the manager, a couple of weeks ago, and it was just a great night to talk football, talk stories, and get to know everyone better. And it is a very good football club from a family orientated point of view. All the staff and the commercial and the hospitality are always around to chat, and we got on very well.
That's always good to hear, and always nice to hear from that point of view. Because when the back's against the wall, at least we know we're all pulling in the right direction.
Well, that's the thing. As I always say, when a manager goes up for the Manager of the Month award, he's always got about 20 staff around about him. But when the manager goes out the door, he's got his black bag and himself. So it's important you stick together in the good and the bad times. But that doesn't always happen.
No, true. And permit me to say that, but that's why you're manager of us now. And because you've been here and done it, so that's the trust is there, and I think you've earned that trust, Derek.
Yeah, I mean, I got on really well with the chairman, the co-chairman, Rod. Has been, fantastic since I've been at the football club. He is just a genuine, really nice person, and he has been very supportive.
And long may that continue.
And all the directors have. I can't I have to mention Charlie and James, and you know, they are the ones that have come from being a supporter to understanding where Morecambe Football Club have come to and where they want the football club to go to. And yes, they want to do it sometimes too quickly. That's not been disrespectful. I know that they had a 3-year plan, and the 3-year plan got ripped up because we got there quite quickly. But
yeah, that was your fault.
yeah, but they want to do the best for the football club and the supporters, and they listen to the supporters so much that anything that goes about around the football club to try and improve it, they try and do.
And again, long may that continue. So, Joel, anything from the trust before we wrap up?
Yeah, just we're doing the Christmas toy appeal again this year.
Ah, brilliant.
We're really pleased to be able to do that. Obviously, Joe's not on the board, but she's wanting to come back and help with that. And Podgy's obviously another big driving force behind that. He's been co-opted back on the board, so we're getting that running again this year.
So that's collection by the end of November to go out early December, isn't it? That
it is indeed, yeah. So we're doing a collection on the 12th of November, which will be before the Portsmouth game. 12:30 till 2:30 at the Mazuma. It'll be very obvious where it is, and obviously keep an eye on Facebook and socials and everything. So yeah, it's presents for all the family from kind of 4 to 16 years old. So like board games, craft sets, pencils, colouring books, football, obviously, footballs and sporting sets and anything like that. And yeah, it must be new and in a box, but yeah. So come along if it's been really successful in previously years, and it's a really nice thing to be able to run again.
And just a final one from me, the being involved with the setting up of the Former Players Association. That's a big day for us. The club have been brilliant. I think we've got something in the region of 55, maybe 60 ex-players coming for the Portsmouth game. They're all in the local choice suite. They'll be on the pitch beforehand. And there are some there's people that go back to the 1950s, which is absolutely stunning. And they're coming from far and wide, and seriously are coming from far and wide to say, and following on from what Derek said, this is a strange one because I've been contacting old players that I was kept in contact with from the conference days in the sort of like 90s and the 2000s, and uniformly every single one of them says, oh yeah, I'd love to come back because Morecambe's the best club I ever played for. And that goes back to Rod Taylor again, Derek, because Rod was about in the 80s and the 90s, and they always speak very fondly of Rod. So what you're saying is just echoed by players from that area, which nice for you to hear.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fantastic chairman. Him and Graham, do a lot of hours for the football club, and all the board do as well. And I think that the football club has got to where it has because of the staff, the supporters. The supporters, have supported this football club through thick and thin. And would they have believed they would be in League One playing against the teams that they're playing against? There's no way, because financially we haven't thrown money at it. We've got here through hard graft and merit, and I think that that's what a lot of Morecambe football players and staff have about them is a gratitude to working hard to be successful. And at the end of the day, when you do that and you are successful, you deserve a pat on the back, and that's what everyone that's associated with this football club throughout the years, because they're all part of the history of where we are today.
Yeah, and they've all played.
We've just got one point to make. We should make sure that the 55 new players that are names down: trialist 1, trialist 2, trialist 3, trialist 4, trialist 5, trialist 50, trialist 55. Might be some good left backs in there.
And on that note, I can't top that, Charlie. This has been episode 13 of the season of ShrimpNet. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Derek. Thank you to Charlie. Thank you to Joel, as usual. We'll be back next week to hopefully talk about the 2-shot wins away at Sheffield Wednesday and away at MK Dons, because we haven't even done a preview for those, because they're just, the cup games, and we're up for them. But good luck with those, Derek, and thanks for coming on. Hopefully you'll come on when we're happily in 15th in January.
I'll be delighted. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Join us again next week. This has been ShrimpNet. See you later.